Lamprey are one of the two extant forms of jawless fishes, the other being hagfishes. All lamprey are external parasites as adults, generally living on other large fish. Most aspects of their behavior and anatomy are adapted for this mode of life. On the dorsal surface, a single median nares, or nostril, is located. It leads into the paired olfactory sacs that we'll see upon investigation of internal anatomy. Just behind the median nares on the dorsal surface is a whitish area, the median eye. It actually consists of two small eyes. The median eye is actually a translucent area of the body wall lying above a light-sensitive region. Notice also the size and position of the two lateral eyes. The lamprey has an eel-like shape and scaleless skin and 7 pairs of external gill slits. At the front of its head is a prominent mouth. The mouth is fringed with papillae and lined with keratin teeth. The papillae serve a sensory function, and the teeth, composed of keratinized cells, serve as an attachment tool. Inside the mouth is a protrusible tongue. It is provided with small, rasp-like keratin teeth of its own and is used to cut into prey. The lamprey has a cloacal opening located on the ventral surface just anterior to the caudal fin. Using a very sharp knife, we are preparing a sagittal section of the lamprey by slicing the anterior part lengthwise into 2 halves. The cut is being extended posteriorly all the way to the first dorsal fin. At that dorsal fin, we will remove 1/2 of the animal's body so that we can investigate the internal anatomy. As we explore the internal anatomy of the lamprey via its sagittal section, we can first see the olfactory sac, remembering that it was the median nares that opened into the olfactory sac. Immediately behind the olfactory sac, we see the brain. Extending from the brain is the dorsal hollow nerve cord. Immediately ventral to the nerve cord is the main skeletal support, the notochord, which extends from the posterior end of the body to a point beneath the middle of the brain. Just ventral to the brain, the mouth subdivides into 2 tubes. An upper, smaller one, the esophagus, and a larger ventral one, which is the pharynx. Remember that the pharynx is a space that contains the internal gill slit. The 2 openings are separated by a flap of tissue. The lamprey ventilates its gills, seen here, by pumping water in and out of those external gill slits that we saw in the external anatomy. Note, leaving the gills, the efferent gill arteries that lead to the dorsal aorta. The heart lies in another division of the coelom, the pericardial cavity. The heart of the lamprey is very similar to all fish. It has 4 chambers, a sinus venosus, 1 atrium, one ventricle, and a conus arteriosus. Those chambers are not easily differentiated here. Another part of the digestive tract seen here is the liver. As most livers, the lamprey liver appears green in color. Embedded also in the posterior is the intestine. The intestine is continuous with the esophagus, as the lamprey does not have a stomach, which is an adaptation to its parasitic lifestyle feeding on blood of its hosts. Note that both the liver and the intestine are surrounded by the animal's gonads, which are densely packed. Here, we are preparing a cross-section of the lamprey. We are cutting the posterior end of the lamprey off in the middle of the anterior dorsal fin. Here, we are looking at a cross-section of the lamprey. Located in the most dorsal portion of the cross-section, we see the dorsal nerve cord. Immediately below the dorsal nerve cord lies that supportive notochord. Just ventral to the notochord is the dorsal aorta, which is quite small in this specimen. On either side of the dorsal aorta are the posterior cardinal veins. In the ventral portion of the lamprey abdomen lies the gonads. The gonads are plentiful and have rearranged some of the structures there. But what we can see protruding from the most ventral area is the intestine that runs almost the whole length of the animal. The gonads pushed the paired kidneys more dorsal than their original location. Draining each of the kidneys are small urinary ducts.